What's up, y'all?
What's
Happy
up, guys?
Monday, everybody. Welcome back. If you guys are watching on the replay, as a reminder, we're live every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Come in, ask your questions. Usually there's four of us, so Miles is out today, but all of us have sold $5+ million on Amazon. So happy to answer any questions you guys got. Let us know who's in chat today, though.
I'm sure we got some usual suspects today.
Oh yeah. How's everything going for your business, Corey?
Good. Yeah, things are good on our end. One of our exclusive brands, they really heat up in Q4. And they're actually launching their 2.0 version of their main product. So we're gearing up to help them with that. And aside from that, just business as usual. Things are going good. What about you, Garrett? What's new in the distribution business?
Man, that's good. It's good. A lot of things happening nowadays. I just put something in the private chat, but that would be absolutely massive.
Oh, wow. That would be sweet. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But I mean, it's just continuing. Like the thing is, we have really all the people we could possibly want. It's just opening new accounts with brands, getting access to products that people want. In a lot of ways, we're just kind of like a sourcing aggregator for our clients, or our big clients, as it, so to speak. But yeah, things are good.
I feel like that's the beauty of your business is that the demand's built in. Really, your whole the whole thing that you try to solve that you need to solve for is just more supply.
100%.
And even then, it's like your suppliers, they want to sell products, so it's not like a super hard sell a lot of times for you to go and open new accounts.
Well, because it's like I'm not even trying to necessarily land brand exclusives with like the small and medium-sized brands. I'm just trying to buy a lot of authentic products, right? Whether that be from brands, whether that be from the an arm of brands. The more authentic products at good prices, the better.
Yeah.
Because again, right, like my model, my vision has been the same from day one. It's decrease the gap between brands and Amazon sellers as much as possible, right? Shrink that gap as small as I can to make the Amazon seller as much as I can, because when they make money, they keep coming back, right?
Yep.
Trying to get rich off of one particular buy, but them continuing to come back is what's making rich.
Absolutely. So question here, he said, I'm in wholesale doing 50K a month revenue, but I do want to jump into a little OA for the higher margins. Should I, or just stick with wholesale? Because that 10% margin doesn't seem good nowadays. So it's really personal preference. I mean, if you have enough capital left over and you want to try OA, then go for it, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of big sellers who do both. They do wholesale and they do arbitrage. So really depends on you and your goals, and if you have the bandwidth or the team to spend time sourcing those OA deals, then go for it.
What I would say is wholesale is great, but if you want to get into OA, I would jump on the seasonal stuff. And now is as good as time as any with back to school, with prime Thanksgiving sales, Christmas sales, Black Friday stuff.
I mean, Labor Day sales will be ripping here. I mean, they're
100%.
probably already starting. I haven't done too much sourcing today, but it's going to be in the next day or two. They're going to start ripping.
100%. I wouldn't suggest, especially being that you have your footing with wholesale, I wouldn't suggest you sit reverse sourcing on random OA sites for hours and hours on it, right? I don't think that's a very good use of time. But if you get very strategic, very, very pointed with your OA sourcing, try and capitalize on some of like the demand arbitrage that naturally comes up with OA, you can make a whole lot of money very efficiently. And I think that's probably where you're after.
Yeah. No reason to do everything one way though. There's a bunch of like 7-8 figure wholesalers who will do some OA and vice versa. Just jump on anything with opportunity. The big thing, like, I mean, if you started wholesale and you're trying to add a little OA at this point, like figure out what brands you're already carrying that when you look at the listing, it looks a lot more like just general resellers, right? You probably know the listing. If you I mean, you're doing 50K months in wholesale, you know what a listing looks like if it's wholesale versus like being done, sold by resellers. And you know what like a smart price point is for a lot of like similar brands to what you're carrying. So I would start there. Just kind of start with start with what you're most familiar with. Nelson said a bunch of Labor Day sales or then time to get sourcing. For sure. What's up, Mike? You said so when I submit an ungate, whether it's 10 or 100, whatever, it's going to the same people as you. So it's just a volume game. There's no like special accounts or anything like that. The only account advantage from having an older account is auto ungates. And that you can also create that with more sales. So yeah, we're sending everything to the same people, Mike. You're all good, man.
What's the best way to scan wholesale sheets and how much scanning tools are accurate? The best way, and this will always be true, to scan wholesale catalogs is good old fashioned hard work and human touch, right? So a lot of the scanning tools are going to be super misleading. They're going to miss a lot of the good stuff, right? And so what I'd recommend, and obviously Corey jump in after this, is if you have a distribution catalog, create a list of all the brands inside that catalog. Yourself or one of your VAs, just type in each brand into the Amazon search bar and just see what comes up, right? Start by sort of like an interesting or not interesting identifier to boil that list of first the catalog, boil then the brand list down to a list of 3 to 5, 7, 10 brands that are interesting. From there, right, if it's especially if it's like in an Excel format, you can do a filter on all those brands that you've already found. And then you're kind of just going to go one by one and just kind of very manually source. But the easy way, the efficient way is 100% not going to be the best way. And that's part of the reason why a lot of people fail out of wholesale quickly. It's because they're relying on the scan and limiteds. They're relying on all these sourcing agents to look for shortcuts when there are really none.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of the scanning tools. I mean, they'll find you the lowest hanging fruit, but they're not going to find everything, and they're definitely not going to find the best stuff. So like Garrett said, really the best way to go through a wholesale catalog is just the manual by hand way. But the easiest way to do that is to get a list of the brands that the distributor carries. And most distributors are going to have their brand list on their website. So once you have that list, then like Garrett said, you just go into Amazon one by one, type the brand name in, look for the best sellers on Amazon, and then essentially reverse source those best sellers back onto the distributor's website or price list. And a lot of times what you'll find is that the distributor will carry those best selling products. And if they don't carry them at a profitable price, then you just ask the distributor how many you need to buy to get the price that you need to be profitable. And then you just rinse and repeat that process. So it's super manual, it's super tedious, but I mean, our very best distributor, which we've been working with for over 5 years now, that's exactly how we source them. Like they have a website with no UPCs. It's totally unscannable. And once a year, they do basically their own buying show where they send out, it's like a 200-page PDF of all their deals. It's like literally a PDF catalog. And I have my VA go in page by page by page, manually looking up deal after deal after deal. And we'll put together, 1 year, I think we spent like $100,000 with them just during their buying event from that manual sourcing action.
I mean, because the reality is, right, if a brand has one fast moving product, which again is all you're qualifying on in the beginning of your wholesale product sourcing journey, all you're looking for is velocity. All you're looking for is quote unquote like intrigue, right? And so the reality is if a brand has one interesting product, there's probably going to be many. And you're leveraging Amazon's own search algorithm to your advantage, right? Because if a brand has anything interesting, you better believe they're going to try and show it to you on that first row, right? Because that's where they want the consumer's eyes to go. That's where the products are converting, right? And so all you're doing is leveraging Amazon's search algorithm to find the brands that are interesting, boil that down obviously into your manual sourcing process, and continue to go from there.
Yeah, if you want to use a little bit of software ish, you can just plug the brand in at KPF too. You just have it show you in order what the best stuff is, what's increasing in price, what's selling the fastest, that kind of thing. And then even if the supplier doesn't like list that, if it's the same brand, they carry a bunch of that. There's a chance of like, sure, we can get that. They just
a very good chance they can.
I mean, they just don't want to put every single product they theoretically could get on a list because it's a lot of work for them. And
because they also probably have a team that's building their catalog, right? And so they actually can see it as a quote unquote value add for you to be suggesting different products that they can offer not only you but other people, right? And if you've spent enough, you can be like, hey, only offer this to me. This is a me exclusive. I don't want you going to offer this to other people.
Right.
For sure. Bunch of good questions here. Let's see. How do you handle listings that suddenly get deactivated by Amazon? So the only reason it would get deactivated is if it's like usually maybe the listing is misbranded. It's going to be the most common thing, Cassandra. So if you see it says like brand generic or it's like a misspelled brand or like some random Chinese name as the brand, then that's not really like an authorized listing. Beyond that, if it gets taken down, you can bring it back up as long as it wasn't like a policy violating listing. So just kind of learn those things to look out for. The big one is just the brand name being correct though. Let's see. What's up, Brian? Brian had a good question. You feel like you have a good brand direct opportunity? What content should you look into? Yeah, Corey, where should Brian go if he's get curious on brand direct?
Yeah, Brian. So I put together, it was like a 3 or 4 hour free brand direct course on my YouTube. So I'll find that video right now. Is from the last few weeks, but I would just watch that whole thing, man. There's timestamps on it too. So it is, it's a video called Free 4 Hour Course for Better Amazon FBA Deals. And it's basically a full brand direct free course. It's like 4 hours and 15 minutes long. It was from like 2 weeks ago. So I'd start there.
You guys have a rangefinder?
Let's use the
I
app.
don't. No, I don't. I wish I had one. They're nice.
I'm trying to buy one off Facebook right now.
Yeah.
You lowballing
you
people?
probably get a good one on
$5?
Facebook too.
Well, I want one with the magnet and that does the slope, right? Because if you're not getting slope, then it's just going to be 18 birdies all over again.
Yeah, that's true.
Totally on subject.
For sure. Music had a question kind of here for you, Garrett. That said you're spending hours reverse sourcing online. Will it really take that long to find a product?
I mean, not necessarily, right? But it also depends on where you're looking, what sorts of price leverage mechanisms you're using. There's a lot to go into it. But in the beginning, it 100% will take hours. But as you get better, then you can, just like we always talk about, start to look in those adjacencies that tend to have more profit than others, right? If you find a good brand that you found a couple products in, you look deeper into that brand. You find a good ASIN, right, that has other variations, you look deeper into those variations. You find a good site you've been having a lot of success with because you can get 20% off when everyone else is getting 5 to 10, right? Look deeper into that store. All those sorts of things, there's going to be more money than initially anticipated. But when you have had success, it's always going to lead to more. If you have 5 good products, well, that immediately leads you to probably 50 sellers that are all doing the same sorts of stuff. And so look through their storefronts, map that back to 7 different OA sites, and you have immediate interesting products all over the place. Very quickly, as you get good at sourcing, it's going to be a matter of how much money can I spend or how much money can I get access to, as opposed to how many products I can find.
Yeah. I mean, the first item you find, I don't know what, on average, probably most sellers, probably 3 or 4 hours to find the first product, somewhere around there. It's going to be a lot more than that if you're not like correctly looking at all the different like ways to create profit as well. Some people are going to find it way faster than that. But yeah, I mean, if you're like just getting started, are you expecting to go in and instantly make $300 an hour when you're sourcing products? No. Because if you break it down, like let's say it does take you 3 hours to find a product, you're not going to buy a product that you make less than 100 or 200 bucks on, right? So there you go. You just started a business and now you're making 30 to 60 bucks an hour. That's pretty reasonable to me. And you grow that as you go.
Yeah, that's a key point there. I mean, that's something that I think a lot of people don't grasp. They're like, oh, it might take me 4 hours to find my first product. But when you think about that, like you said, that one product has the potential to make you what, $100, $200, sometimes
super
more.
Conservatively, yeah.
And you got to think about the fact that you get a lot better at sourcing over time. So yeah, that first product might take you 3 or 4 hours to find, but then the second product maybe takes you an hour and a half. And then the 100th product takes you 10 minutes. Right. So that's when you really start to get leverage. And once you get good at this stuff, it's a multiple $100 per hour profit skill. And that's not an exaggeration.
And again, like the reality is it's the skill that's going to scale you as high as you want to take this. The skill is not changing, right? It's finding products. That is going to be the lever that will always exist. That will take your business from either 10K a month to 20K to 50K to 100K. Finding products is always going to be the main lever in this business. And so the stuff you're learning now is going to continue to apply. And you refine it and you get better. But the skill is going to be hard to master for sure.
Yeah. The 2 easiest things to focus on if you want to make the highest hourly is how do I figure out this website so that I can buy things from this website over and over again? And how do I make the items I've already bought as easy as possible to restock? The better you get at those things, the less effort you're doing for more money, basically. Sweet, a bunch of good questions here as well. He said, any sites for ungating besides Target? Yeah, any website will work as long as it's legit. Just keep submitting it. How would you tackle safety compliance requests from Amazon? Yeah, to be honest, I used to like try to track those down. I haven't done one in like literally years and nothing's happened. That's what I do. So I just kind of ignore it. Worst case, you can just try to sell out before that date if you're really worried about it. Because it seems like
legal advice.
Yeah, not legal. That's why I said that is what I do.
But the beauty of those
But Warner, you told me to ignore this, and now my account got shut down.
Yeah.
But the beauty of those requests is that when one person submits that document to the listing, it resolves that issue for everybody.
It's different on Walmart. So
Walmart, every individual
it's really
person needs to
annoying in
have
that
it.
regard. Yeah.
Yeah. Question here: would you recommend someone with no experience to begin with online arbitrage first? Yeah, that's typically what I would recommend. Yep. Or better yet, retail arbitrage. I mean, I think retail arbitrage is still so slept on. I mean, it's one of the only businesses that I know of where you can discover that the business model exists at 9 a.m. At 10 a.m., go to the store and start sourcing, and at 11 a.m. have purchased your first profitable product. And if it's a fast-moving product, you could have sold it by the time you get to the cash register if you listed FBM, right? So I always say retail arbitrage, but OA is great as well. Sorry, I was distracted there for a couple of minutes. I just put the finishing touches on my slideshow for Sellers United, my presentation there, and just sent that off. So I'm speaking there this time for the third year in a row, and just turned in that presentation. So I'm looking forward to that. Are you guys going to be there by chance?
Probably not.
No.
When is it?
October, I think 15th, I want to say. Or no, October 16th in Secaucus, New Jersey. So that'll be a fun one. That one's geared towards resellers, specifically wholesale sellers. So if you guys are, well, really any sort of reseller, but if you're into wholesale, that's one of the better conferences to go to. There's a lot of high-level speakers there. I'm going to be speaking. They've got an executive from Pattern who's going to be presenting. Pattern just announced this week, I think, that they're going public at, I don't know what the
margins, right?
That was what was crazy to me.
Yeah.
They made, I think, 32 million in profit.
One bill, yeah.
Which, I mean, that was lower than I was expecting.
But yeah, it's even lower than I thought.
Yeah, but at that scale, I mean, it makes sense. It's a retail business, really.
I mean, the goal for that type of company was never ever profit. It was always an IPO. Like if you're the founder of that, it's always the goal is an IPO. Sweet. Some more good questions here. You found a bunch products that provide invoice. Just keep submitting, Benjamin. You can add a picture of the product, whatever else. Yeah, I know there's always ungating questions, but just keep submitting information. It's totally normal to have to submit a few times. Sweet, already got there. What's up, Adrian? Adrian's on a heavy attendance streak here.
He's been here every time.
Let's see. A brand when she managed their listings. What should Cassandra do here? I know we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah. So when you say they want you to manage their listings, what do you mean exactly? Like, what is it that they need? Because some brands, when they say they want you to manage their listings, sometimes they want you to run PPC ads. Sometimes they want you to do a full listing refresh. It really just depends on what it is they need. So if you could maybe give some more context, we could help better understand. But really, I mean, if you have no experience managing listings or marketing on Amazon, I always recommend partnering with an agency to do that work for you. So go find an agency that's really good at that stuff and cut some sort of win-win deal with them where either you get a cut of, what the brand is paying the agency, or maybe you pay the agency in return for being an authorized seller with the brand. Like there's a lot of different ways you can structure it. But if you've never done it before, I would hire someone who knows how.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're kind of having those conversations, at least, Cassandra, even if this particular brand doesn't go anywhere. Like that's every one of those conversations, every product you find, all that kind of stuff makes the next one easier. How many months in before OA clicked for me? I mean, I will say like the first month I tried and gave up. I came back to OA after like a few months of going back to books for a little bit. So like it's not an instant click for sure. I don't know, like probably a month or two, things will really start to make sense. I think that's what I tend to see in a lot of people. If you're just like really sharp on that kind of stuff and you understand how like make discounts, usually month one. If it takes you a little bit, that's fine. Probably month two, month three, it'll make a lot of sense. That's part of why it's so important to start right now while back to school season makes some things easier right now. And then by the time Q4 rolls around in December, you'll have a really good handle on how everything works. And you'll have a shot at that 20, 30, 50, even 100K a month if you're like really applying everything you're learning and you got some capital to plug into it. On top of that, we're also going live tomorrow night for the free class as well. So for any of you guys who are new to the game, Miles and I are going to be on a private call for 2 hours or so, breaking down some like AI sourcing methods, some back to school, Christmas prep, that kind of stuff. So we'll see you guys tomorrow night. It is, yeah. Or 7 p.m. Eastern.
Can't
7 p.m.
stand
Eastern
when he
tomorrow
does that, dude.
night. You got a conflicting call there.
Yeah, it takes away from my audience. And I'm talking to myself over there. Good lord.
Let's see. Newton had a question here. Said a product has good monthly sales, looks good. Amazon holds the buy box. I would say no, Newton, unless it's like a really fast seller. Yeah. What do you guys see on, especially on like some wholesale items where you're selling a bunch? Do you guys compete with Amazon at all? I've started to experiment with it a little bit, just because you're actually able to sneak some sales even when the buy box says it doesn't. What are you seeing there?
I usually don't compete with Amazon. We have on listings before. I mean, it's not like we make, ton of sales, but it really just depends on the listing. I'd say it's very much product by product, but sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. It really just depends.
You can always check keep offers too and see if you see like direct stock count decreases of people competing with Amazon. That's a good way to check too.
I mean, I would say the offer count is kind of like your North Star, your single source of truth on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a one size fits all equation, but you have to look at the velocity,
Yeah.
right? If you're talking about a listing that sells 500 times, probably not worth the risk, but something that sells, which it usually is the case, with something that sells thousands of times, right? And you see that offer count oscillating up and down, whether or not Amazon shows to be giving the buy box or not, you can pretty safely expect. And of course, you always would want to test it first. And even like from a wholesale perspective, regardless of what the MLQ is, right? I mean, don't forget, you can go to your local Walmart, Target, whatever, buy 20 of them, test it out. Even if you're losing money on those, you have the authentication that you can go at a bigger scale and sell them safely, right? I'd rather you lose $100 on a test buy at local Walmart than 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 on an MLQ. Also, I would rather you test buy from a Walmart than asking your sales rep, hey, would you mind if I buy 5 of these just to test it out, right? There's no quicker way to kind of devalue yourself as a prospective buyer than to ask for a test buy, ask for, a loophole in their MOQ guidelines just because you want to test something.
For sure. Let's see. Good to be your level of due diligence. Yeah, for sure, Adrian. Yeah, I've we've been making videos and that kind of thing for long enough to see lots of people who are on streams now selling way more than us on Amazon. I always love to see that.
Yeah,
I want to see $10 million seller Adrian right there. Sweet. How long did it take you to go from the initial struggle of starting to consistent being profitable? Yeah, I mean, same kind of answer as like when things start to click. Usually it's like a month or two. The nice part is there's not like a ton of overhead, right? The only like significant overhead that you can rack up is how much stuff you're buying. And so if you're worried about things not staying profitable, making sense, okay, buy 5, buy 10, that kind of thing, right? That way you just limit you limit your worst case scenario.
I mean, and the cool thing now, especially from an OA perspective, compared to when Warner, you and I got going, is that there's just so much more valuable and productive content, right? If you want to look at sourcing, if you want to learn how to source, well, you can find any of our videos that have hours and hours of live sourcing content, where of course the products aren't going to be the same, but you can replicate the skill and the tactic and the process, right? We walk you through how to look at a keep it chart, how to reverse source products from any particular listing, right? How to work through all your sales and pricing mechanisms to get something from 2017 to 16 to 18, right? If you want to learn how to source, there's hundreds of hours of YouTube content teaching you just that, right? And that's kind of the huge difference now as opposed to when we got started. Also, just more people doing it, right? It's way easier to find someone that you like to do this alongside with, regardless of if they're in your local area or not, compared to kind of when we got going.
Yeah, for sure. The main thing is, yeah, just jump in, be okay with maybe losing a couple dollars as you start buying items. That's totally normal, and yeah, things will start to click as you go. And yeah, Haley and anybody else who's kind of trying at that initial phase, we'll see you guys tomorrow on the free class as well. We'll break down everything you need to know basically. Let's see. Caleb said getting one of those companies that gives you some leads. I haven't heard of that before, Caleb, but if it's $2,000 for a year for 3 to 5 leads a day, the only way that business model would make sense is if they're sharing those leads with a lot of people. It's basically like a cheap leads list. I guess it's not that cheap as far as if you month
ends up being what, like 150-ish a month?
Yeah,
almost?
150 it's a month. I guess that's pretty normal for a leads list. Still, it is still a leads list though, Caleb. So other people are getting fed those same things. You can use it to kind of like show you new ideas, but I wouldn't do it for a whole year. Maybe the first month or two if you got plenty of cash.
So I think the one thing that a leads list does really well, and Chris Grant talks about this a lot, but he talks about using the leads on a lead list to basically using the lead list to help you identify certain brands or categories or sales that are active. So like if a leads list tells you like, hey, buy these 2 products from brand A, well, then you should do a deep dive into brand A on that website. And then potentially you're going to find a lot more winning products from brand A on that website that weren't on the leads list. And so therefore are going to be a lot less competitive. So if you're really going to do a deep dive, like on a lot of the leads and kind of go off on, I think he calls them like different rabbit trails, then that could be totally worth it. But if you're just going to try to buy leads straight off the list, a lot of them are probably going to tank in price.
Yeah. Cause like we were talking about with like earlier, when you find that one item, it makes the next one easier. Cause if you're fed an idea, it's almost every single time you find an item, that same website's going to have a similar brand or the same brand, another ASIN that's also profitable. Right. So keep that in mind with whether you're looking at a leads list, you're sourcing for yourself, that kind of thing. Once you've made profit on one item, you can use the same way you made that profit on a different ASIN almost every time. Let's see. What's up, Mark? You said if you buy something online from a store that's in a tax-free state, it would be taxed regardless from where you live. It's based on where you ship it to. So if you ship it to a state with no sales tax, that's what you're going to pay. It doesn't matter like billing address, where it's getting shipped from, that kind of thing. It's just where it's going to.
Phil said, eventually, will you need permission from brands to sell their products on Amazon? So I think arbitrage will always be a thing on Amazon. Like there's always going to be an opportunity to go buy from a retail store and then flip on Amazon. It does seem like Amazon is getting more, like Amazon definitely wants you to buy from the brand as often as you possibly can, but they're not going to like outlaw arbitrage. I think it just makes up too much of the marketplace.
Yeah.
But
also too many listings for them to ever realistically like.
Think about how many listings on Amazon sell like 10 to, I don't know, 200 times a month. That's like the sweet spot that Amazon loves, that they're making so much money off of, that there's no way they want to get rid of that. But yeah, obviously it's, if you can lock in a brand contract and that kind of thing, that's great as well. And I know Corey loves jamming on that for sure. Sweet. It's probably a good place to wrap up for the day then. Good to see all of you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow night for the free class. Make sure you check out these guys on socials. Check out Corey's got a bunch of good wholesale content. Garrett's got a bunch of content as well. Maybe he'll start making content again at some point. Not. He's here for the love of the game at this point.
Too deep in the distribution game at this point.
But yeah, appreciate all you guys coming to hang out. We'll see you guys again very soon.
See you guys.
See ya.
Sweet.